What's going on? This is Zach Adelstein with Daily Edge Sports, and it's the best time of the year. Christmas is finally here. We get a 5 day weekend of Christmas for college football this week. NFL starts up next Thursday, and it's a full go from here. This is the first Thursday of an entire, the rest of the year we have football every Thursday night, Saturdays, Sundays. It's my favorite time of year for sure. We actually get a really nice week one slate this week. A lot of times, week ones, you might get one good game, maybe two. We get like 10 really good games this week. And there's some really good games on Thursday night as well. Not as many ranked games, but there's 15 FBS games going on, over 15 FBS games going on, some FCS games, and a lot of things that we can really dig into, um, see what we can get into as far as DFS props go, and see what we can get into just to get the season off on a good step, on the right step. If you're not in Daily Edge Sports yet, you need to get there now. One of the best communities in the game, constantly putting out slips every night, winning slips every day. Some of the best tools in the game, especially for prize picks. We have just our regular, um, you know, ABCD. We grade the picks for you. We put in our custom projections. Probably one of our best tools that we have is our Demons and Goblins tool. It's constantly hitting, top 10 picks there, constantly going over 80%, 10 and 10 picks pretty regularly. Football's one of the best times of the year. One of the most fun games to play, especially college football. You can really get into some deep, heavy lineups with some demons and really get your multiplier up there. So yeah, if you haven't come to Daily Edge Sports yet, you need to head over to Daily Edge Sports and check us out. But yeah, let's get into it. Um, and yeah, let's pull up the screen and let's talk about. There we go. So yeah, let's talk about the first. Let's make a slip. Let's get started for the first slip of the season. There's a few places I like to go here. Decent amount of games this week, like I said. Just going through some of the games. East Carolina and NC State will be a decent game. Um, Boise State, South Florida, I have some interest in. Some of these smaller schools on the slates. You have Elon, Duke, Tennessee Martin playing Oklahoma State. You're not going to see very many props up, or they might pop up at the last minute. But we do have some, these FBS matchups have given us some really good props to look into. One thing I like to look at early in the season, if we can find it, is rush attempts, quarterback rush attempts. So early in the season, defenses are generally ahead of your offenses. It's just kind of the way it is. Offenses take a while to install. You have a lot of moving parts, especially with all of these transfers that are going on, and plays fall apart. We saw that a little bit in week zero. We've seen it over the years. Plays fall apart, and younger quarterbacks, what do they do when a play falls apart? They pull the ball down and run. It really is a good time to attack quarterback rushing props, kind of see what they do. But you also, those rushing attempts are nice because every time you get a sack, you get a rushing attempt in college football. So it's really nice to look at that. So where I want to go here is Brendan Sorsby, over 8.5 rush attempts. He did this in 6 of 8 games to end the season last year. He's averaging over 10 a game, had some with 13, 14 rushes in that time. He's facing a Nebraska team that gave up some high volume rushing games last year. They weren't the best pass defense, so they did give up some air yardage, but Cincinnati's not the best pass offense either. So they're going to have to pull the ball down. They don't have the best wide receivers. And this is going to be a good spot for Sorsby to really get on the ground. They're going to give up a few sacks early in the season. Um, these are the kind of props I really like to look for early in the season. Look at quarterback rushing props, see what they did last year. Is this a quarterback that's, doesn't totally trust his judgment? Is he going to pull the ball down? Is he going to, try to make plays? Is he going to get a few sacks? You get 2 or 3 sacks here. You only have to get 6 rushes. They're going to plan a few plays for Sorsby to rush. And he's just going to, this is a really good line. I don't as much, if you look at his rushing yards, I don't love his rushing yards as much because it's up there. And again, sacks will count against that. But 8.5 rush attempts, if he gets 2 sacks and he runs the ball 7 times, I think it's a really good line for Sorsby. Moving on, another game I really like is targeting some Minnesota players against Buffalo. Minnesota is a 17.5-point favorite. And if we pull up Minnesota, their running back last year, the lead running back is back, Darius Taylor. Had a really good season last year. He fell 13 yards short of 1,000 yards. Had 10 rushing touchdowns. But he's gonna. I don't see how he doesn't get a touchdown here. The They're facing, like I said, a Buffalo team that was pretty good in the MAC. They were a decent run defense in the MAC, but outside the MAC last year, they gave up a lot of yards. Against Missouri last year, they gave up 172 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. And then against UConn, they gave up 223 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns to their running backs. Darius Taylor also had a couple receiving touchdowns as well last year. So it's definitely something he can, do is catch the ball. He had, 3 to 5 targets generally each game last year as well. And yeah, I think they're going to want to get their stud running back started. This is a Minnesota team that we know very well likes to run the ball, and I can definitely see them pushing there. Going over, another one of the big games, one of the few ranked teams on this, we talked about it, but one of the ranked teams here is Latrell Caples. Caples was actually the leading wide receiver for Boise State a couple years ago. So if you go back to 2022, he was their leading receiver. 2023, he was injured the entire year, didn't play a snap. Came back last year in 2024. This team obviously had Ashton Jeanty. They were running the ball a lot. He was the number 2 receiver for Cam Coleman was number 1. Coleman was the deep guy, but he's now in the NFL, moved on, had 87 targets last year that are open. And I think it's 3 of the top 4 wide receivers are out, and Caples is the only one that's back for Boise State. I think they're going to try to get going here against USF. They are favorites. They're going to USF, but they're 6-point favorites here. I don't mind. You can also, if you go and look at Caples, he has that receptions goblin. I don't mind that. I think he's going to get 5 or 6 targets. It does scare me a bit that they try to spread the ball around if they start going up a decent amount at USF. So I'm going to look at the 45.5 receiving yards. He went over this a lot last year, a decent amount. There were games that he had, 50, 60 yards. At the end of the season, he kind of tailed off with Coleman really getting the volume. And also getting to that playoffs, the championship game, they got to the playoffs. They kind of couldn't really do anything against that Penn State defense. But yeah, I think Caples is a very capable running back here and someone you should really look at. Receiver here. Someone you should really look at for these receiving yards. Again, I like this. I don't hate this receptions prop either, but I think you can go either way here and you get the extra value with Caples at the receiving yards. Last place I'm kind of going to look here is an under. Quarterback passing yards are hard to go over earlier in the season. Again, those you look at those offenses, they're generally behind the defenses. Takes a few weeks for them to ramp up, especially now you have so many different receivers. You're trying to get them in sync with each other, especially at full game speed against players that aren't on their same team. CJ Bailey. So let's talk about NC State, CJ Bailey. They do have a new offensive coordinator. This is a rematch of the bowl game from last year against ECU. Last year in the Military Bowl, ECU beat NC State 26-21. So obviously, NC State was still trying to air it out. Bailey played the entire game. He had 230 yards. He only went over this number twice last year. Played in, I believe, 12 games. Went over this twice. His top receiver, Casey Concepcion, is now gone. He went to A&M. He was one of the top wide receivers in the transfer portal. And his top receiver that's back is his tight end, Justin Jolly, who is a very good wide receiver. But his top actual wide receiver that's back had 464 yards last year. Even against a bad team, I don't think Eastern Carolina is great. I think they were ranked around number 60, 65 in PFF's defensive rankings last year. But this just is too high for CJ Bailey. This is a team that is they are a 13.5-point favorite. So if they get up, they're also going to start running the ball. Yeah, I think this would be a good line around 220, 215. But going up there to 250 yards, be one of his best performances of his career, that's just too high of a number. So I'm gonna go on the under there. I think this is a good one to flex. You get a 5x week. Early in the season, it's really hard to try to pinpoint exactly what's going to happen. It takes a few weeks of collecting data to really get into college football. These are kids, and the coaches don't necessarily like to tell what's going on. But yeah, this is where we're at. I'm going to go with this for this week. We'll have much more plays in our Discord and on Daily Edge Sports. So if you are not in Daily Edge Sports yet, again, you need to come join us. We're doing big things this year. We're really excited to have everybody to welcome the new members and really get going with all of our existing members. And we hope to see you soon. Um, so yeah, we look forward to seeing you. We're going to be doing these a lot this year. Going to try to get up for most of the slates, get some videos up, and we hope y'all follow along.